Time now to check in with Patti for our Ask the Vet segment.
That's right, Randall. I am joined by Dr. Joel Conn from the Pismo Beach Veterinary Clinic, and we're talking about a problem that cats have that people may not think of. I can tell you that I'm one of those people. We had a cat for 11 years, one of my favorite cats, and she died from kidney failure, and I found out too late.
Chronic kidney disease is a really common condition in cats, also in dogs, but less commonly so. And it's something that we see in virtually every animal if they live long enough. And so it's something that it's important for all owners to kind of be aware of so we can catch it early and do something about it.
I didn't see the signs, and I actually was getting irritated with my cat. Her name was Licorice, because she had been such a well-trained cat and really good in the house, and she started going in places she normally wouldn't. She even went on the stove, and I was furious. I couldn't believe it, but I found out later the reason. So
yeah, going on the stove is probably a bit unusual, but
that was.
One of the things that is important to sort of understand about this disease is what the kidney does normally in the body. Because as that starts to fail, that's where we see the symptoms. And the kidney in general is kind of a filtering organ. It serves this purpose in us as well. And it's one of its key mechanisms is to conserve water in the body. And you can see here in this graphic what the progression is from normal kidney on the left, number 1, to a chronic disease kidney on the right, number 3. What happens is you get scarring and shrinkage of that tissue with time. And what happens is you lose the ability to regulate water. That's number 1. You lose the ability to essentially excrete waste products. That's one of the kidney's main functions in the body, is to get rid of things like ammonia and other chemicals that are toxic, byproducts of metabolism. And then the kidney also has a primary purpose in manufacturing certain hormones. And so as we see disease develop, those things go by the wayside. The interesting thing about kidney disease, and this is true also about some other conditions, but with kidney disease, it takes about 75% loss of kidney function before we see the symptoms, and before we start to see changes on lab work. And that's what makes it challenging.
So, as a pet owner, what are some of the symptoms that you can watch for to say, I need to get my cat in, or my dog, if that's the case, and have them checked?
Well, one of the things we hear all the time is, my cat is getting old. And age, believe it or not, old age is not a disease. So usually there's a reason that you start to see things. And the main thing that owners observed initially is these guys are peeing like crazy and they're drinking like crazy. And they're drinking a lot because they're peeing a lot. They can't conserve that water, and so they kind of run at a constant stage of dehydration. So that's number 1. And that's pretty common.
My cat, she would always want water, and she's always after the faucets and, just anything she could do to get water. But this was kind of her whole life. And I noticed that on the list, I know you're going to get to it, is the breath. She had a sort of a sweet-smelling, chemically kind of smelling breath, but she always had that. I just didn't realize what was going on.
And that's one of the symptoms you can look for. Of course, there's other reasons for bad breath. As we know, a lot of these kitties by that age have dental disease. But bad breath, ulcers around the mouth and in the mouth can be a sign, and it's a result of these things like ammonia building up in the bloodstream, and they're very caustic to the tissues. So that's one of the things you look for. Cats that are frequently getting diagnosed with urinary tract infections, dogs too, there may be a reason for it. It may be because those kidneys are not doing their job protecting the body, and so you're getting recurrent infections. So if you're finding that you're constantly having to treat your cat for these kinds of things,
there could be an underlying reason there.
There could be an underlying cause. Constipation, which is something we wouldn't normally associate with the kidneys. There's almost always a reason that cats become constipated. In general, they're pretty good poopers. It's the bottom line.
Just check the cat box.
So if we're having constipation, it's usually because we have some sort of condition that's causing them to become dehydrated. Almost always, we're screening these guys with constipation for kidney disease.
And there are treatments.
That's the good news. So it's not a hopeless condition, especially in cats. This is a sort of a typical looking cat, scruffy, not grooming well, thin. This is what we'll sometimes see later in the disease, and the goal is, again, to get them in before they get to this point. So the good news is we can treat this, and if we catch it early, these guys often have a quite good prognosis. They can do well for definitely months and usually years after the time that we see them. So one of the mainstays of treatment is fluids. This is something that can be done at home. We can teach owners to give fluids under the skin. by injection, or the easiest thing a lot of people don't think about is flavoring the water dishes.
To encourage them to drink more?
Encourage them to drink. So have lots of water dishes around the house. If you have a cat that likes to drink out of the tap or likes what we call wild water, make sure there are dishes in those areas, or even get a dish that has a running water.
So when they're attracted to the sink, they can get to the water, because
take advantage of what they like.
Yeah, you're going to try to keep your cat
So
out of
you can add clam juice, you can add tuna juice, other flavoring things to the water to encourage them to drink. So that's number one. And then we have lots of diets here.
Things that you can do at home that are not medication necessarily, or not too costly, to start tackling this problem.
That's right.
And we, as always, we haven't talked about everything. Dr. Joel Conn has more information, and if you are interested, if you're concerned that this could be a problem for your pet, ask the vet at KCOY.com. You can get some specific, tailored information just for you and your problems. So send those emails in. Thanks for joining us, and we are right back in just a moment.